Welcome everyone to the Almost Cancelled TV News Podcast. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Connor.
Yep, I'm still here again.
Sound miserable.
I feel it every time I'm here with you.
Well, that's fine. So we talk about renewals, cancellations, pilot orders, series orders, pickups, some casting here or there, maybe some other random tidbits that are of interest. I will warn you though, this is a light week. It's a very light week, in fact. I only have 5 tabs open for news. So
See, what I'm hearing is you want me to talk about Doctor Who for 20 minutes.
No, that is definitely not it. Well, I'm okay with a little bit of tangenting this week because we do have less to talk about. I am not okay with that genre of tangenting. Thank you very much.
Even if it's relevant.
No, I don't care.
I will make it relevant. Somehow.
So we'll get started then. We have one renewal to mention, and that is Evil has been renewed for a 4th season by Paramount Plus.
4th season?
I don't think it started. I think it moved to Paramount Plus after a couple.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it began CBS. Its 3rd season's on Paramount Plus.
Fair enough.
So yeah.
Speaking of being surprised by something that long on Paramount Plus, I happened to see something interesting this week. Which
Go on.
I'm the trigger this is completely irrelevant to Paramount Plus, just to get that out there now. But just me being surprised by something like that existing.
This is a tenuous link at best. Okay.
It is. Do you remember last week when we talked about Freevee?
I do remember Freevee.
And we were like, Amazon has this weird free service, and we were like, what the hell is this? And we'd never heard of it. I had heard of it, just not under the name Freevee.
Oh, what was it being called?
They have rebranded it recently. It used to be IMDb TV.
Oh, that's what Freevee is. Okay.
That's what Freevee is.
Not that I think I ever used IMDb TV, but I had heard of it.
Same. I knew what that was. I also never used it, but the name, if you'd said that on the last week's news story, I wouldn't have been confused by what the hell it was. But yeah, that's all it is. They just rebranded it.
Well, that was a good bit of investigative work. You get a Ferrero Rocher.
I can't eat those.
Oh, that's a shame. More for me.
That sucks because I actually used to love Ferrero Rocher.
I bet you did. Of course you did. They're lovely.
Doesn't everyone?
Why wouldn't you? Unless you're allergic to nuts.
They are one of the most superior chocolates.
Oh. Yes. So yes, Evil been renewed.
What is
season
Evil?
4? What is Evil? Baby don't hurt me. Baby don't hurt me no more. That's what that sounds like. I mean, obviously that's what is Love the song, but I mean, it sounds just as much of an open philosophical question. What is evil? Baby don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more.
I feel like because it's the opposite of love, it's sort of evil. Relatively speaking, it's on the opposite end of the spectrum. You kind of need to flip the lyrics as well.
Now you still say "Baby don't hurt me," please. Baby don't hurt me no more. But then you just have another voice who's representing evil go, "Yes, I will."
Sure, yeah.
Tough titty.
It works too.
I will hurt you as much as I want because I'm evil. No? Okay.
Yeah, well, that works too.
We milked that first story for all it was worth. Let's move on to number 2. Night Sky has been cancelled by Amazon Prime after 1 season.
I don't remember this one from Amazon.
This is the J.K. Simmons and Sissy Spacek show.
One where they're in the hut that takes them to somewhere else.
Yeah, it takes them to like a space station that's on a planet somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched the first episode, reviewed it, and it was sadly very dull. The whole show is about the fact that they're not really, or he's not accepting that they're getting old and all that. But it genuinely felt like I was in a waiting room in an old folks' home watching it. Is how I described the feeling of it, which is a shame because obviously the actors are good, but yeah. So, not feeling super surprised by this. They did do like a weird marketing stunt for it where they beamed the broadcast of it, or a broadcast of it, into space. It's a gimmick, you know.
Sure.
Just, you know, some aliens might catch it.
Well, maybe they'll enjoy it more than you did.
Maybe they'll come and invade because there's no season 2. They'll be pissed off. Like, you cancelled the show.
Just hope for the aliens' sake they didn't end on a cliffhanger.
You bastards. So yes. Yeah, it wasn't the worst thing ever, to be fair. I just thought it was quite dull, and I had no interest. There's kind of a hook at the end of the first episode that is just, first of all, it was in the trailer, so it was like, you know, a nothing kind of moment watching it, but also just it didn't feel like it really earned my my attention, so I had no interest in watching any more of it. But hey,
That's fair. Honestly, just them being in space and me imagining a Galaxy Quest style world around this show is infinitely more interesting than, one, what the trailer was, and two, you know, what it sounds like it ended up being from, you know, your thoughts here.
Oh well. Bit of news, bit of Marvel news next, which, you know, we're both kind of out on the Marvel stuff. But
Are you off to see Thor this weekend?
I'm not. No, I'm not. And the reviews are pretty middling for it as well, actually.
I am. Our friend James went to see it tonight, and he goes, it was actually really frustrating because they took one of the best modern Marvel runs and just turned it into a farce, which I assume, you know, just in the typical MCU style. And he said, while the last Thor movie felt like a Waititi movie filtered through the MCU, this just felt like a Waititi movie, but just not a very good one.
That's a shame, because I have read that Marvel run as it
is very good. Yeah.
The villain that Christian Bale is based on is, I mean, it's not so much that he himself looks super interesting, but the story that he facilitates in that first, like, you know, 11, 12 issues of that comic book run by Jason Aaron is excellent. And yeah, the trailer's just nothing but jokes. Like, it's just a super jokey, lighthearted.
I've not even seen it. Honestly, I didn't even watch the trailer. And I was thinking maybe I'll go see it. I like that. That's how I like the gore stuff. I like the you know, Jane as Thor stuff. Like, you know, I like all that stuff in the comic. Well, maybe, and I like Waititi a lot. And that Thor movie is probably the last Marvel movie I enjoyed. The Waititi one. And even I didn't love, but probably the last one I enjoyed more than I did.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, I think it's got a lot of charm to it, but I do think it's overrated. Ragnarok.
I do as well. I don't think it's like amazing, but I think I liked it more than I didn't, which I can't say for most of the other ones that I'd seen recently at that time.
Yeah. On that note, actually, I've not watched this week's yet, but I really liked the first episode of Miss Marvel. Quite liked episode 2. Episodes 3 and 4.
That's a shame. I've heard people claiming it is the best show on Disney Plus, like the best season on Disney Plus of anything, not just Marvel. Of
sure,
all their Star Wars.
I mean, after the first 2, I would have been. It was the first one that I've watched that actually felt like a TV show, and I mean that in a good way.
Huh.
Like, I mean,
no, I know what you mean, because they all kind of just feel like overlong movies that just arbitrarily are cut up.
Yeah. But and it's just maybe a taste thing, but it goes into a bit more of like the mythology, and it's all this. It leans a bit more into fantasy of like where the powers come from, and
they completely changed the powers, right?
Yeah. I guess they decided that the stretchy powers would look shit, so they thought, oh, we'll do something a little bit different. I would say it's kind of more like a Green Lantern style thing that makes the fists. You know, it's like a a light fist rather than like our arm stretching out. So you get the same kind of like effect ultimately, but yeah,
it doesn't have to look quite as realistic.
Yeah. The big thing was those characters they introduce in episode 3. Well, technically they had episode 2, but mostly episode 3. That you kind of get, okay, they're probably going to be villainous later on. Like they're going to be friendly at first, but be villainous later on. They flip like a switch in that same episode. It is so just suddenly, oh, now we're just villains, to the point where I'm like, why did you even pretend to not be villainous before? Why did you pretend to be helpful and nice? Like,
that's a shame.
You just threw it away like it was nothing. Whatever. So I mean, the actress playing the lead is still great. She's the heart of the show. She's got nothing but charisma.
That's really good, because despite my personal feelings, and even if the show isn't, by the end, if you're a little bit disappointed in the show, the fact that she's good means that they can keep her around
Yeah.
and use her in other stuff that maybe has a potential to be better down the line.
Absolutely.
Again, not saying it's bad, but if that's your problem, if the show or the writing is your problem, her being good is just objectively a good thing for the long term.
Absolutely. She's great. She's one of the best finds, one of the best things about anything Marvel I've watched in a while. Because instantly I was like, oh, she's really likable and has a lot of just natural. I don't like. I don't know. She's got this energy where it doesn't matter what scene she's in. It always feels like she is the center of the scene, and that she this is about her, and she always captures the attention over everyone else.
That's good. That's how I felt in like in Hawkeye with when you had Steinfeld and Pugh together, like as a pairing. Like that was like, it was like no matter what was going on the show, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if it wasn't like the best episode. If you had a scene with those two together, it was entertaining to watch. And it sounds like this is something similar where it doesn't matter kind of what else doing. She's very good and kind of shines above it. And
Yeah.
hopefully the people at Marvel recognize what is working there.
Yeah, you'd hope so. You'd hope so. But the news that we've actually got to talk about today, this Marvel news, is related to Echo. This show, it's the character who was in Hawkeye, actually.
Yeah.
Which that was actually like, because I enjoyed Hawkeye enough, but it was I wasn't like super enthused about like the actual plot or anything like that. I remember one of the first things that I was feeling a little bit about was when they introduced Echo, the character, because she's in there as kind of an antagonist in Hawkeye. Is that as soon as like she was introduced, it kind of felt like, oh, this is our big introduction because she's getting her own show, because we already knew that going into it, so it kind of felt a little bit, I would say backdoor piloty, but it definitely felt like, oh, this is something.
Setup.
Yeah. But she's getting her own show, presumably 6 episodes. The news this week, though, is that not only is Kingpin, played by Vincent D'Onofrio, returning for it, he's going to be in it.
Makes sense, given what the the end point of her story in Hawkeye was.
Yeah. Although it was very, it had a sort of an ambiguous having been announced for this makes it less ambiguous, but it was ambiguous at the moment.
I think given that that replicated a moment from the comics pretty much exactly anyway, it wasn't actually that ambiguous. They just shot it ambiguously, right, and just left it open for the sake of drama,
which was a little bit silly because it made a lot of people think they did something really stupid in the moment.
Yeah, but again, I would say that is people with poor media literacy, because clearly that is not how that story ends.
Oh, sure. But the other person returning is Charlie Cox's Daredevil. He's going to be in there, and
Okay.
it's not surprising that he is back in some form. He showed up in the Spider-Man movie recently in a small cameo, which definitely said, oh, hey, like Feige's interested in having at least Daredevil and Daredevil's supporting cast be a part of future MCU stuff.
And I don't think it's official yet, but there's obviously a lot of talk about there being another Daredevil show on Disney Plus now.
Yeah, we talked about that a while ago, that they're developing something probably very different to what the original show was, in the sense that it's probably going to be 6 episodes instead of 13, and maybe toned down just a little bit, but
yeah,
you'd expect that. So I mean, I think this is an interesting ploy here, because I think what you do with this is Echo inherently is, even to comic book fans, I would say, like, most comic fans have at least heard of Miss Marvel, even if they've never read a Miss Marvel comic. I would say that Echo is a character who, like, people don't know. In fact, she's basically brand new, if I understand it right. Is she not?
I don't think so. She's been around a little while.
Relatively new, but she's like a modern creation, though. Is she not?
I'm not sure.
I mean, regardless, my point being is that, she's not as prolific or well known as
she's definitely more niche.
Yeah, obscure.
No arguments with that. She was created December 1999.
That's a bit earlier than I thought. I thought she was like a 2010s creation, so fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think that, so what I was trying to say anyway is, I think this is them kind of stacking the deck a little bit. It's like, hey, Daredevil's going to be in this, and Kingpin's back. Like, I think that's their way of trying to like make sure people are interested, if they don't care about the character herself. Obviously, they hope that some people did grow to like her in Hawkeye and they care her, but this is
because the thing is, I don't think she's ever had her own series as a comic, right? Maybe a mini here or there, but I can't even think of any. I think it's more just she shows up in other stories, right? So, let's say she doesn't have a huge comic audience already compared to something like Miss Marvel. And then there's probably a reasonable audience that at this point are just going to show up for any Disney Plus Marvel show, no matter what. But yeah, I think it's pretty safe. You throw in two names like this that people, by and large, tend to care about, you will get a bigger audience for this show, without doubt, because of this. Like, just as a direct result of them.
Yeah. So it feels very calculated. And I'm sure it makes sense in the story. Kingpin definitely does. And having Kingpin means that very easily you can bring Daredevil in to help the Kingpin. So it's not going to feel too convoluted by any means, but it also does kind of feel very calculated as well. Like I see the gears working a little bit here for some synergy and some support.
You can feel the editorial oversight of being like, okay, you've got to include these in your story because we need them for the marketing.
Yeah. And Charlie Cox and D'Onofrio feel content with just doing this forever, probably at this point, and getting a paycheck.
I bet it pays pretty well, so why wouldn't they?
Yeah. At least I don't think I've seen Charlie Cox pop up in anything else since he's been Daredevil. I mean, I saw him in Stardust before Daredevil. I don't know if I've seen him in anything else since.
No, I'm sure he's done stuff, but
I'm sure.
Seen him in anything.
Yeah. But yeah. So it's what it is. So by far the biggest thing we'll talk about this week is this big bouquet of news coming from the Duffer Brothers and Netflix. Big announcement this week. So they have started a new company called Upside Down Pictures. First look deal with Netflix, and they've got a number of things in the works, which aren't necessarily going to all be directly them themselves doing. This is a company they've started. So
at least one of them's a movie, which is kind of funny.
But there's a couple of series involved here. The big thing, the headline thing, I suppose, is to say that there will be a spin-off of Stranger Things, a live-action Stranger Things spin-off, which you're thinking, why are they specifying live action? Why would we assume it's anything else? It's because something else in here, I think, is maybe going to be animated.
And shocked by this news that Netflix doesn't want Stranger Things to die.
Of course not. I mean, it's breaking records. I think it became like the first series to cross 2 billion viewers or something this week, something like that, on streaming, obviously.
I might start season 4 this next week or so.
It's very good.
I've already had it all ruined for me because.
Oh really?
Oh, literally everything.
That's a shame.
I've not gone looking for a single thing, but the internet is incapable of not ruining. Also, people at work are dickheads and not consider it either, but the internet mostly.
Oh well. That's a shame, but it is very good, and I suspect you'll still enjoy the majority of it. I can see you thinking a couple of the subplots could be trimming down, but otherwise I think you'll probably be quite happy with it.
The only thing I did, like, there was one article I actively clicked on. It was before the last 2 episodes came out. Was about how unwieldy and large it feels with the cast. Like, it feels like everyone has to have a plot every episode, and there's a lot of them at this point, and that's why the run times are feeling kind of inflated, and maybe it needs to be trimmed down a bit. But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if I do feel similarly about some of the subplots.
Yeah. Well, they did say there was a separate interview with them this week, actually. They said season 5 is probably going to have shorter episodes for the most part, maybe with the exception of maybe the finale still being supersized. And they said one of the reasons for that is that season 5 inherently, they aren't all going to be split up at the start, and like sort of like, because usually all the seasons start with like, okay, where's everyone now? Let's catch up with everyone and what they're going through. Season 5, because of the way season 4 ends, I won't spoil anything, but inherently we're just kind of hitting the ground running with season 5. So naturally, it's going to not have as many separate things. And I feel like one of the things that people always say about Stranger Things is that they, why is it there's too many groups split up into smaller groups. We want everyone to be together. That's part of the charm of it. And it's just, and that's never bothered me in the sense that it's always been a core mechanic thing. Even the season 1's like that. But the idea that season 5 might have most of them together for more of the season because it's the last hurrah
might make it feel a little bit special.
Yeah. I can see that making sense. I can see that making a lot of sense. So there's not really any information about the spin-off. So it's not surprising that it's going to happen. I will say, I love season 4. I've loved Stranger Things up until now. It's one of my favorite ongoing shows. I am super hyped. I am confident they are going to nail season 5 for the most part, because so many things that were introduced in season 4 felt so natural because of the mechanics they'd already set. It felt like at some point they thought ahead and had like a through line. Like they had an outline of how all these rules worked and how it all connects by the end, and everything because of that didn't feel cheap. Everything felt like, oh no, the bad guy having this power makes complete sense because this, and this. Everything
That's good.
worked, right? And I love that about season 4. I will say this though, this idea of the expansion of doing spin-offs, like I'm inherently just a little bit more like, I'll give it a chance, I hope it's good, but my expectations are muted, because this is where I think it probably might go off the rails, and that's okay as long as they nail the ending to the original show. Everything after that, it doesn't matter.
That's fair. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said how there's no details on this spin-off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's because, well, there's two options. One, they just don't want to share any information because I might spoil whatever happens in season 5. They just,
Sure.
They don't want to give that away yet. Or the cynic in me,
They don't know what it is.
they don't know what the spin-off is yet. Netflix has just said we need more Stranger Things, so they're like, fine, we'll do a spin-off, and we'll worry about what it is later.
I wonder if, like, okay, we'll greenlight 5 other things for you if you do a spin-off of Stranger Things.
I'd
sure.
take that. I don't blame them. I'd take that deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's possible, and it's not even that big a deal if that is the case, because I mean, ultimately, there's always going to be a time where someone says do more Stranger Things, and they go, okay, fine, we'll do a spin-off. Because later in this article, it mentions that they're actually just about to start writing season 5. Now, that's not to say that they've already got it mapped out, and they've got the final. They said the final 20-30 minutes are pretty like clear in their head.
The actual writing of it,
but the actual scripting of it, they're going to start doing that in the next like month or so. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So the idea that maybe they have like just a broad like concept for what the spin-off will be, and that's it. But it's too early to even start giving out the concept. I don't know. Obviously, people jump to prequels, but I don't know if a prequel works, especially if you're going to connect it to any of the characters, because like, they're all not supposed to know about all this, supernatural shit until the show. So
yeah, and unless you're following, you can't really follow any of our main characters with a prequel. I don't think you have to follow things like, like the labs and other
young Brenner, or maybe young
Yeah.
Owens, maybe what he used to get up to when he was younger.
Yeah, stuff like
there's still a risk,
the season 2 episode that I don't like with all the kids in the other city.
Oh sure,
like following things like they did.
Yeah, the danger with a prequel, even with one of the scientist characters, is like, yeah, but the whole point of what happens in Stranger Things is this is clearly the first big thing like this ever, really. And the idea that like they went through some big, and let's face it, because it's a prequel and it's made later, it'll probably be even bigger than Stranger. Not in terms of like its success, but just in terms of like, the scope of how wacky and crazy it is. Yeah. So it'll feel like a bit disingenuous because of that. One of the things that kind of helps like Better Call Saul, apart from just the excellent writing, is the fact that just by its nature, it doesn't have to try and go bigger and more bombastic. It's all about character journeys, and it's all it's all pared down, so it doesn't have to try and top it in an action point of view or go more ridiculous or anything like that. So whereas I feel like most other prequels suffer from the fact that they want to try and top the original, and it feels a bit weird that, oh wait, they already went on a bigger adventure before the thing we saw them in. That's a bit odd. Like,
yeah, there's probably, I can't think of it off the top, but I think there probably is examples where narratively that can work, especially if your character in the original thing is maybe an older character. They had some crazy adventures in their younger days. I can buy that. But yeah, I do tend to agree with you, and that's why I would hope this is more of a spin-off sequel, kind of following, pick a character. Again, I've not watched any season 4. Season 5 can completely throw anything I do suggest out of the water anyway.
Possibly.
So it's kind of like, okay, see where it is at the end of that, and then kind of, well, obviously they know, but kind of see from that perspective, okay, where's a logical place to follow from there, I think is.
Yeah, I mean, do you
likely.
Do a sequel with 1 or 2 characters and just follow them, and it's their story now, off separately? Do you just have a new set of characters and it's, do almost like a Fargo style thing where okay, the new story's set in present day, and it's all new characters except maybe eventually a middle aged version of someone will show up. But
Yeah, it's the sort of thing where I can see, again, hypothetical, purely just off the top of my head here. What some of the characters, one of the two of them can't let it go. What happened here? The rest of them try and move on, but they can't get low, so they go off investigating outside Hawkins for other things that are happening elsewhere. And you can just follow that, and it's still tangential. It might still be tangentially connected to the Upside Down. It might be they stumble into something else entirely.
I would hope it's something else. I'd hope they'd go.
I do, yeah, but I think they go looking for things like that and it becomes something different over the course of at least a season, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most obvious sequel spin-off for it to go, and I'm not saying this is what I want necessarily, but this is the obvious thing I think everyone's mind jumps to because you want kids again, is you have the current characters be adults and they have their own kids who are about 12 to 14, and we're set in like a close to present day time period where it's them that's on the adventure doing stuff.
You can do that. The danger with that is, of course, it feels repetitive.
Yeah, it's too similar. Yeah. You kind of also get the feeling though that part of Stranger Things whole thing is it wants you to feel like all these different movies that came out in the 80s. So do you pick another decade and say, okay, we're going to do this now, and this is how it all feeds into the story rebuild?
If you take it and put it in, relatively speaking, present day, does it lose a lot of that charm and what has kind of become a lot of the draw with that 80s kind of nostalgia stuff to it?
You can't go too far in the future, relative to the show, because once you get to the 2000s, you're kind of like losing any, like 90s could maybe work with certain things, 70s could work with it's tough because I think with Stranger Things, like so much of it is built around the idea these are the types of stories from the 80s. So if you want a spin-off, you kind of want the same feeling. Like you want to like maybe have different characters, maybe a different type of enemy and like plot striving thing, but the thing you probably want to keep is that feeling of like, oh, this is a good like stew of like what makes 80s cinema, right? That's kind of what you want in it.
Yeah, before season 4 I'd have said pick a different genre of cinema from the 80s to replicate, because before it's very much that Amblin, like that kids E.T., Goonies, that sort of stuff. But from what I gather of season 4, it leans more towards, okay, we're getting like some slash stuff and
Elm Street specifically, yeah.
Right, there we go. So they've kind of already done that, and
they kind of like if you look at, because season 2 had some alien stuff in it, and then season 3,
a little bit, yeah.
I'm not sure what to relate it to completely, but the mall and the Russians and stuff, like it definitely had its own vibe that was separate from other things.
But it still at its core felt like those 80s kids adventure movies, I think, even throughout that. Whereas, again, from what I get from season 4, the kids are a bit older now. They're not really doing the kids adventure anymore. It is late teen, young adult kind of verging on horror stuff.
Which, to give it credit, is a very natural transition because it does make sense with them being older.
It does, and I'm not trying to take that away from. I'm not saying that's a bad choice or anything. But I think it does limit then what their choice of what they're doing in a spin-off is, because like I said, the next step for me would have been, right, take a different style of cinema from the 80s and replicate that instead, but we're already kind of doing that in this show now.
Go the opposite route and have them all as old age pensioners in like an old folks home, so a Bubba Hotep Stranger Things.
I'd kind of watch that. I feel like it would lose its mass appeal, but I'd love it.
Yeah, it's tough. I wonder if you just keep it in the 80s, but go, different place, different set of characters, different type of supernatural occurrence, but it's just still the 80s. Is that what you keep? Is that the one thing you keep?
80s and supernatural, yeah.
Yeah, and just do something different. So it's almost like an anthology. I mean, it's not an anthology in the sense that it was a full show, but the idea that the spin-off is just another 80s supernatural thing, but somewhere else with something different. Yeah.
That's probably the safest bet. Beyond just using your already existing characters and doing some sort of direct spin-off sequel with them.
Yeah. That's curious. I am fascinated because I wonder if they'll take a big swing and do something kind of weird and quirky, and like do something that's okay. This is not a safe pick, but I'm at least intrigued because you pick something ballsy with your idea. I could be curious. Will it be the last spin-off? Probably not. Maybe if it bombs, it may be the last one, but I suspect it may not be the last time we get a new Stranger Things.
I would suspect we get details about this one probably as soon as season 5 wraps. Like just after it's dropped on Netflix. If I don't know if they're going to split up again or not, who knows at this point. But kind of.
By the way, I hope so. I think. I would obviously. I hope they go weekly. Best case scenario, but split into 2 or 3 chunks. Honestly, the fact that no one could like spoil the ending, if you were whilst you were working through those first 7 was, mwah.
And I think Netflix may be seeing some benefits from the fact that people are still talking about it.
There was a lot of speculation in that month between the 2 parts, and a lot of talk.
I was seeing constant. I wasn't clicking on them, but I was seeing constant headlines.
Yeah,
for Stranger Things,
and don't worry, no matter what you've seen, Connor, I want you to know that there is no Kate Bush song of any kind in Stranger Things season 4.
Oh no, and there's definitely not a Metallica song either. That I definitely don't know exactly what happens as that's playing. Thank you, internet.
There's no hell's been run up. No, there's no deals with God being made.
No. I hate that. I've not seen a single second of season 4. I even watched a trailer and I know exactly what this whole thing is.
Yeah, that sucks.
That does.
I'm glad I went in really blind. Can I offer you a Ferrero Rocher in this trying time?
I will take that and throw it in your face. And I'll wish it was the egg that you were referencing.
Hey, I've got another 12 there to throw at you, so I mean, I got ammo.
Yeah.
All right, so the rest of this stuff. So we talked about Stranger Things spin-off, which has no information other than they're going to develop a Stranger Things spin-off.
We really milked that, didn't we?
We did. So here's the other things. The first one's kind of like out of nowhere surprising, and 4th time's the charm. I don't know how many adaptations we're on of this now, but they're developing a live-action series based on Death Note.
Yeah. Adaptation-wise, there's obviously definitely the anime.
And the Netflix movie, which got panned.
Netflix movie. I feel like there was another movie at some point.
I'm pretty sure I saw someone say this was the 4th. I couldn't tell you what the other 3 were, but that's why I said 4.
I know 2 off the top of my head.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a 3rd one that's smaller or whatever.
Have a look. There was definitely some other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, there were some other movies by the look of it.
We don't need the whole history. It's just to make sure my joke made sense. So
you've got a 2006 film. There's Death Note 2. There's some spin-offs. Death Note New Generation. Death Note Light Up the World. And then the 2017 Netflix movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't count the sequels and spin-offs as more adaptations. I'd just say that's an extension. Of
there was also a live-action series in 2015, apparently.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Even more than 4. Maybe it's the 5th time's the charm. Maybe people like that. I know the Netflix one was critically.
It was awful.
Yeah, pulled apart.
I'm a big fan of 2/3 of the anime, and I think that means I'm a big fan of 2/3 of the story because I think it was a pretty faithful adaptation. I think there's a natural endpoint to the story that's about 2/3 through, and it finishes, and then there's this weird kind of epilogue that goes on for probably another handful of episodes that is just unnecessary, and I don't want to say it takes away from anything, but it's just like it should have just ended.
Interesting. So yeah, it's based on the anime and manga series written by Sugumi Oba and art by Takeshi Obata. It follows on a bright teenager who discovers a mysterious black notebook that gives him supernatural power over life and death, the latter caused by writing a person's name in the book. The teen becomes intoxicated with power. He decides to cleanse the world of undesirables as law enforcement teams try to stop him. So it's someone getting too much power then, I guess. And
yeah, you got this cat and mouse game, like someone trying to figure out who's doing this, hunt them down, while they're using the book to kill people. And there's a very specific kind of set of rules with the book. You can't just kill anyone. You have to know their name, kind of, I think like a time where they're going to, a place, things like that. So, the people hunting him have to keep their identity hidden so he can't just kill them. So it's that investigation from two ways, where he's trying to investigate who's investigating him, so he can just kill them.
Interesting. Yeah, I never watched the movie. But
Shocked. I do think this has more of a chance of being better, being a TV show. I think it. I don't think it's even possible to fit that into a good movie, because there is so much there.
It's worth mentioning as well, they hired someone to run this new company they made.
Okay.
Hilary Leavitt yeah. So yeah. That's what I thought I'd mention, that just to make it clear that they're not running this company, although I'm sure they have a lot of say in what it's doing, but
and they get profit.
Yes. The next thing they're developing with this, there's not a lot of information here, but an original series from creators Jeffrey Addis and Will Matthews. And you're saying, who is that? Well, that is the pair that did the Dark Crystal series at Netflix a while ago.
Oh, okay. I'm much more interested in that than you were.
Of course, yeah, you liked the first episode more than I did. So not a whole lot there. I mean, I don't know if you can take from that it's going to be a similar type of show, like style-wise, or if it'll be something completely different. But
I mean, if you're telling me it's a fantasy show, maybe slightly more of a family-friendly fantasy show, that would not be surprising. That would fit in with the Dark Crystal stuff, and also probably fit in with what this production company seems to be.
Yeah, in fact, the next thing they're working on here, this is a bit more meaty detail, it's based in a book here, but and something that I think was teased. There's a character reading this book in the season finale of Stranger Things, if I remember right. So yeah, the Talisman, which is a Stephen King book. They're developing a series. This is not a movie. They'll put a series adaptation of this, which the Duffers will craft alongside Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment. So they're producing this. So yeah, created by Stranger Things co-executive producer and writer Curtis Gwynn. So you can get the vibe that some people who have had on their writers team are getting their own shows coming out of this.
Which is pretty natural.
Yeah, and it makes sense given how much of a juggernaut successful Stranger Things has been, that they get some opportunities from it. So the Talisman tells the story of a young man who moves between New Hampshire and an alternate world called the Territories. And this is probably why it was in the Stranger Things, is because it was it's an alternate world. It's a bit of a wink.
Even if this was just there as like an Easter egg of hey, we're going to announce this soon, it thematically still works. Yeah.
So yeah, New Hampshire and an alternate world called the Territories. To obtain an artifact that will save his mother's life. While the Talisman shares the otherworldly qualities with Stranger Things, it's more fantasy than sci-fi, but it does have some horror. So it has some sci-fi, it has some horror, it has a lot of heart, it has everything that we love, and it's got the best werewolf character I think ever. That's something Matt Duffer said, that last part. So
I'll have to see if Tim agrees with that, because Tim's definitely read this.
No doubt, yes, absolutely.
As a huge Stephen King fan, he almost certainly has, and also as a huge werewolf fan, right?
Stephen King stan, werewolf fetishist.
Yeah, I mean,
I was trying to think of something.
He's literally currently creating a werewolf comic. So
yes. Yeah, I mean, I've never read the book, and I'm hit and miss with Stephen King stuff, but obviously there's some good movies and stuff that have come out of his work that I have enjoyed.
Some bad ones as well, though.
Some very bad ones, a lot of bad ones, in fact. But I do.
He does have a very extensive body of work, though.
Yeah, I do appreciate the sound of this, in that it's like, okay, you've got the alternate world, which is a little bit Stranger Things, but the idea is this character who's got a specific goal in mind, like a specific quest. He's doing it for a reason. The idea that it has a bit of sci-fi and horror as well, that does make me feel a bit better about it. Even though it is still a lot of fantasy, but I suspect the horror part would mean it's maybe a darker fantasy. And that would also just line up with Stephen King as well, in general, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's something that's not quite TV, but a new stage play set within the world and mythology of Stranger Things, produced by prolific UK-based stage producer Sonia Friedman, Stephen Daldry, and Netflix. We'll never talk about this again because it's a stage play, but it's in this list, so...
Unless they kind of do what they did with, like, Hamilton, for example, where they're going to film it and throw it up on Netflix. Like, you can watch Hamilton on Disney Plus.
You can watch. I'd still call it a play though. Still a stage play.
No, you can, and it is a stage play, but it's still it's a produced version of it. Like, it has edited camera angles, things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did filmed a version of that for to put on Netflix. And,
I think my fan brain may explode trying to consider a stage play as canon to like a TV show. That's
I
weird
sent
to
some
me.
patrons going to make you watch it one day.
If it's up on Netflix, sure.
No, I'm not saying they're going to make you travel to London or something stupid to go to the West End to watch it.
Yeah, get on a train for like 7-8 hours or whatever it is.
And then pay 400 quid for a ticket or something stupid. Yeah. No, I'm not suggesting that either. I'm just suggesting when it inevitably goes on Netflix.
Yeah. So.
Did you ever watch Hamilton? Of course you haven't.
No. I know Apple just did one as well. There's one.
They did one.
Yeah, they did one. They just did one.
Did they?
Yeah, they've got a play up. I forget what it was called, but it's not as big as Hamilton, obviously. But they filmed it and put it up on Apple TV Plus as well. So
it's something where I know that like sometimes some of the bigger theatre productions you can actually just go and watch in the cinema here. At least in some cinemas.
Oh yeah, I've seen them advertising that where they'll do like a one night thing where they'll broadcast it live from wherever they're filming it. Which is interesting. I mean, obviously part of the charm of seeing a play is just to see the actors actually on stage doing it. But if they're not touring, and certainly right now, maybe not right now, but certainly over the last couple of years there wasn't a lot of that.
It's great for it to be more accessible to more people. If you're the sort of person who is into theatre, the idea that there is an easier way to watch it when you can't go to a theatre is just a good thing. It shouldn't replace it, but as a supplement, it's great. Yeah,
they've been doing it in the US actually the last couple of years with some of the wrestling pay-per-views, so you can still get that crowd atmosphere of like being in a crowd with people cheering, even though you can't go to because the actual event's in like a completely different city. And I kind of get the appeal, because if you're in a crowd of even just a couple of hundred people who all get to cheer and because it's a very crowd interactive style of media.
Sense.
So, Duffers are getting a lot more to do. I hope some of this ends up good. I hope the Talisman's good. Maybe even Deathnote will be good. Maybe the Stranger Things spin-off will be good. But I am concerned that there's this almost like this monkey's paw of like, okay, now you've got carte blanche to go and do what you want. So now everything's going to start to fall apart a little bit because you've got too much leeway and no one will to say no. And arguably, maybe they're already at that point with season 4 of Stranger Things, and like they're getting $30 million an episode.
They definitely didn't have someone to be an editor to tell them to cut this shit down a bit.
But I will say this though, you can see the budget. Like you can see that it was costing more than any other TV show per episode by the end. So it's that sort of thing where, at least in this case, it started off smaller and it kind of earned its cred. So it's like, okay, at least it earned its bigger budget, and they're not trying to like pretend that it's already a big deal.
This next one's just going to feel big from the start.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking of some other shows that some streaming services start trying to put out there, and they try to pretend it's the next big thing, and they just sort of die on arrival, because it's like, no, you tried to pretend this was a franchise, or even something like when Universal tried to do the Dark Universe, the shared monsters thing, and it was like the very first movie tanked, and that's it, it's gone, it's dead. So
yeah,
but
time will tell. We've got a few years till we get to this anyway, because it's
I mean,
at least a year and a half till we get season 5.
The Duffers said, like, they're all they're thinking about right now is nailing the landing of season 5. Like that is their priority right now. Everything else here is all like, for a start, they're not show running most of this stuff, so it can kind of work independently of them. And then
realistically, season 5's probably going to be at best late 2023, realistically early 2024.
I mean, the last one got heavily delayed. I could see it hitting by the end of next year. I'm not saying it definitely will, but I could see it hitting at the end of next year.
It could just about, yeah. But I mean, it depends how big they go, right?
Year and a half. It was kind of the standard gap for this show before the pandemic completely destroyed
which does still put it at the end of 2023 still.
Yeah, which is why I'm saying.
Yeah. Which I'm saying, yeah, that maybe early 2024. That kind of falls in line.
Yeah. Meaning that the characters who were young at the start of the show, because I know a lot of them have just turned about 18, so they'll all be about 20 in the final season. Which is normal for playing high schoolers.
Correct me if I'm wrong, there is a little bit of a time jump for the last season. Not a huge one.
But... They said that, and there might still be one, but the ending doesn't make me think it'll be as big as perhaps everyone thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Especially since every season's had a time jump anyway, technically. They've all been...
like a year or two, right? Give or take.
I don't see this jumping years ahead.
That's fair.
I mean, maybe
again,
it does.
I haven't got the context, but yeah.
But based on the ending, I don't see it jumping years ahead. But
not enough to accommodate the ages.
I mean, there's a way they could do it. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm thinking of a way now in my head where, okay, technically I can see how they do it, but it would definitely be a very different conceptual thing if they did do it that way. But yes, so that's the big news. Upside Down Pictures and all the projects associated with that is definitely the big news of the week. And thankfully we got it, because otherwise we'd have been left with just this one last thing, which is a show in the working Fox.
Oh, I was hoping for CBS, but I guess I'll take Fox. They might still give me shit.
Yes, this is called Billionaire Class. Fox is developing Billionaire Class, a one-hour drama from writer Eric Haywood, who has worked on Law and Order, Organized Crime, and Manifest. And Malcolm Spellman and
Manifest, the one you kind of liked?
No, I never watched Manifest.
Okay, I'm mixing that with someone else then.
You thinking of Debris?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, Debris was good. I like Debris. That was good shit, actually. I really like Debris. Anyway, so written by Haywood, Billionaire Class is described as a high-stakes, wish-fulfillment drama offering a complex vision of wealth, race, and equity in America. It focuses on Joe, a brilliant but disillusioned billionaire's executive assistant who teaches Miles, a charismatic, fast-talking street hustler, how to walk, talk, and act like a billionaire in order to con her employer's super wealthy friends into using their money to help the less fortunate. Okay, there's a little bit of was it Trading Places, the Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy movie, where it's like the homeless guy and the millionaire swap places? Obviously, this is not quite the exact, because it's obviously more long form and no one's being tricked. Well, the main characters aren't being tricked. Obviously, there's other characters being tricked.
This feels really late. And like that 2019, 2020, you had a bunch of movies and stuff that come out with like the Eat the Rich theme.
Actually, do you know this? I mean, I've only seen parts of it, but isn't this a little Pretty Woman as well?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Again, I'm assuming it'll have its own tone, and it's going to be more about, the politics and the social commentary that it's trying to say by tricking all these billionaires into helping the poor. But
yeah, and then you'll have the guy pretending to be that, but because he's getting close to money, he over time, other scenes, like actually he gets a bit more like them than he realizes.
Yeah. This is the thing. See, if this was somewhere else, it might be interesting, but just because it's on Fox, like I can already just see how it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like if you said this was going to be on like FX or HBO, I'd be like, maybe this could be like a.
I can see the dramatic point of this kind of wanting to make, not on Fox though.
Hey, look at it this way: it's not buddy cop show, but one of them's a blank.
I mean, I can turn it into one if you want.
It's a buddy cop show, but one of them's pretending to be a billionaire.
There you go. Look, when you look at it this way, you've got the billionaire executive assistant, or whatever it was, and then you've got the pretending. Are they not already a buddy cop duo in themselves?
It's a bit of a buddy cop vibe, I suppose. Yeah, but there you go. I don't have anything else to add. That's
Really glad we managed to milk enough out of all the other stuff, but I can't get anything out of this one.
Yeah, we got to 50 minutes on 5 tabs. That's
it's impressive for us.
That's impressive. I only had 5 tabs open in Chrome, and that's where we got to. So there you go. Car can have all the Ferrero Rocher that he wants.
I wish I could. I wish I could. That box be gone.
So there you go. That's this week's TV news. What happened this week that I can tell you about? Obviously, the Stranger Things finale. Was that last weekend? Yeah, it was. It was July 1st. So yeah, my review of the last 2 episodes is up. I was very positive. Had a good time. The penultimate episode of The Boys this season was also last Friday. Reviewed that. That's up on the channel to go check out. And as per usual, this week Star Trek was up. There was an episode of Twilight Zone actually last week as well, which isn't back weekly yet. It'll be back weekly though, starting a week or two's time. It was on pause because of all the new Star Trek shows on, which Tara was filling in for instead. And as a result, Twilight Zone was on a break, but it should be back soon. But there was one last week, so there was one new edition of Twilight Zone review series up. Otherwise, though, as per usual, Screams After Midnight's a horror movie podcast. The last episode we did was Final Destination 3 over the Mail of Us movies.
Which one's 3?
That's the roller coaster one.
Yeah, okay. I remember watching that one in school.
Yeah.
The teacher put it on. That was a good day.
That's a weird thing for a teacher to put on.
My science teacher was like, screw it, we'll watch it. It was like around Christmas where she usually just like quizzes and stuff like that. She's like, screw it, do you want to watch Final Destination? We were like, yeah, sure, why not?
I mean, I guess it's probably just the 15 in the UK, and this was probably after you were all 15, but...
It would have been, yeah. It would have been
okay.
At that point of the school career.
All right. So yeah, we did that. We're working through the Final Destination movies because there's a new one coming sometime soon. They've not said when, but it's going straight to HBO Max, so it's very
Probably
lately.
October then.
Probably October, but it's very lately they'll announce it like about a month before it comes out that it's coming, like properly, and that.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure we got them in. So we did the first 3. We're doing 4 and 5 very soon, so look forward to that. And then also the Atomic Cinema Experiments, a sci-fi movie podcast that I did with Tara. We just did. Well, we did Oblivion last week. I'm hesitating because the new episode that'll be up on Patreon alongside this, and then goes public the same day as this, is Predators. We've been slowly doing the Predator franchise since last year.
When's the new one out?
It's out in August, so we have to do the Predator before that comes out, because we'll be doing Prey in August when it comes out.
You got like a month to get in then.
Yeah, it's not too bad. But we did do EVP 1 and 2 as well. So it wasn't just we just did 2 and then we waited ages for Predators. We did EVP slotted in there. Because Alien's got more movies and we're doing that one per year on Alien Day. So
yeah,
it made sense to put AVP 1 and 2 with the Predator movies. So it was better than Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
A low bar, but sure.
It's a very low bar. Most things are better than Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
I've had shits better than Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
Some of my shits are probably more entertaining to watch than Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
It's not a good movie.
No, it's really not. But yes. So go check out that. Of course, you can support everything by hitting the super thanks button below. You can go over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and support the show and all the content. One of the new perks is that most weeks the news will go up on the Saturday, a day early for patrons, and the public release will be on Sundays. So if that is of interest.
It is. And I'm going to interrupt your plugging here because I've just realised.
Breaking news.
Better Call Saul's back this week.
Oh, well, next week. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but like this coming week. So
yeah, before the next news.
Before the next episode of this. Yeah.
Yes, there'll be a Better Call Saul. 6 left. Got 6 episodes left.
They've started the hype cycle. I'm seeing articles about it over the last week or two, and it's hard not to get excited.
Yeah, apparently some of the interviews spoiled a lot of the next episode, and it sounds really good. Apparently, I've not spoiled it. I've had staying away.
One recasting spoiled, which inadvertently spoiled that we are getting a section, and some cast members were also spoiled, but I think that was unavoidable, and they intentionally decided spoil that themselves before it came out, and they gave the reasoning for that, which I thought was an interesting. I'm not. I mean, kind of out of the public. I'm not going to say it here just in case people really have managed to avoid things.
Hey, some people go media blackout. They want to stay.
They do, and I'm going to be respectful of that, even if it's very public knowledge at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, and the boys finale's next week as well. So
I mean,
or today even, or tomorrow.
It's today. Yeah, it's Amazon usually put things up quite early, so I'm there going, oh,
it's tomorrow technically. This is Thursday night.
It is, but Amazon often put things up at midnight local time.
I know, but like it's still.
I'm kind of hoping I can go finish from this and start watching it. Oh, it's there. I can go and watch it. Like,
but it's not
2 minutes time.
Yes, but it's not today in the sense of the day we recorded. If that makes sense, like there's a logic to this.
While I understand what you're saying, it's today in the sense that we're recording this, and then in 2 minutes' time, I want to watch The Boys.
But we started recording stuff when it was still officially Thursday, so.
Shut up.
So this is a Thursday episode. This in terms of recording, and The Boys comes out on Friday. So hopefully I will have done the review of the finale by the time this goes up. The only reason why I may not have is because there's also a pilot I need to do on Friday.
Oh, what for?
Moonhaven. That was one of the higher ranking in the Patreon vote.
I don't know what that one is.
Didn't look very good from the trailer, I'm going to be honest, but I'll give it a go. And also I'm recording a big chunk of a project tomorrow with someone. Something that Connor also has to do a big chunk of soon.
Yeah, which I'm definitely really, really on schedule for.
Yes. Get cracking. Get your homework done.
I've got a week off after this week.
Okay.
So I've got work till like after Thursday. I think I've got a week. I've got like 10 days off. So
yeah, it's a project that is involving every member of the Malefizz team, and 2 people are more or less locked in for their first recordings, which is good because I can use that to make Connor feel guilty.
You guilt trip me into it, like you're the last one. You got to do the work. I haven't even started doing the work.
I'll do the work. Make a list, all right?
I will do the work the night before, like I did with every assignment in my life.
That's fine. I don't care at all. The only thing I need you to do is commit to a date then, so you'll do it. Because then there's a night before. The problem is that right now there is no night before. There needs to be an established night before.
No, this is true. If you don't give me a deadline, I will put it off forever.
Oh dear. I started plugging things 7 minutes ago. We really are milking things this week. So thank you very much for joining, everyone. Hopefully you look forward to all the content and things. I'll see you soon. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?